DashRantic versus the still misnamed, but in the future will not be, Radical 15, aka Buzz, aka InfiniteCustomer, aka IC, henceforth referred to as IC. This is... I don't actually recall the map name. I'm going to have to start giving those at the outset. But the important thing here is a very long attack path. And they are not even close by air. So early expansions are definitely advantageous here. Will help if I full screen this. Dash moving out with his scout to check for early pool. People continuing to say the name UE and IRC and distracting me from the cast. IC picking up his early hatch as well he should. Hatch before pool. Quick geyser. Pool should be going down any moment now. Really? Well, he doesn't have the minerals just yet. There's 200. Will he be putting down a pool? There's the pool. Dash, on the other hand, quickly finishing off his wall and getting double geysers running up. One of them not quite full. We got two scouting overlords from IC, one crossing the crossing the direct air path, and the other moving out toward a more midfield position from which to spot ground advances. Dash poking around on totally automatic pilot, I'm sure. Did he check? Okay, he will have seen the one geyser in the pool. Checking for third, checking for fourth. Really checking for extremely aggressive expansion, which is actually not in IC's repertoire, though it may be something he should pick up. We got this scouting overlord reaching Dash's base, spotting the factory. And spotting the second factory. Dash has reduced his gas worker count. Here comes the Marine to repel the scout. IC being careful to stay next to the edge so that he can actually escape once he starts taking shots. Second Overlord continues to advance toward Dash's main exit ramp. IC picking up another geyser, now getting a Roach-Warren? Spinecrawler. Spinecrawler? Not sure what's triggering him to get a Spinecrawler from this. Spines would make an excellent defense, but Dash isn't going to be ready to launch an offensive for at least 2 minutes. Two Spinecrawlers. I don't understand his I assume, fear of Dash's advance. Getting up multiple spore crawlers in his base, but leaving his right flank exposed. A somewhat better positioned spore crawler over here, still not very central. North flank is exposed. I see, starting with some creep tumors. Dash with a hidden SCV so that he has a nearby scout next time he wants to poke in, though it's not going to get very far here. Dash beginning his production of... Oh, hey, cyclones! We really need to start working on those new cyclones. Ever since the new patch where they're not really such the super speedy anti-air unit, they're now more of a somewhat speedy, pretty solid anti-armored ground unit. Dash picking up an expansion. Actually kind of out of character, but definitely worthwhile and reasonable on this map. Particularly, as I may have noted in a previous game, with this kind of tank positioning, this natural is quite easy to defend with tanks. I see picking up 2 more gas, but I don't see any other tech structures just yet. Just creep tumors and rather defensive play. I'm not sure what he's seen to put him on this defensive posture. Dash pretty heavily fortifying his main's ramp. Even getting a couple of mines, which it's a bit of a shame they just sit here. Built, but not actually in a defensive position. Got the armory, so he's building that Thor to get some semblance of anti-air, because so far all he's had is a marine, a couple of mines, and the now rather anti-air gimped cyclones, which can only hit air with their special ability over here, which requires micro for every activation. Autocast having now been stripped away from that. I see, with some pretty reasonable creep spread, advancing toward this, what would be, I suppose, his 5th base. Pretty soon, Dash is going to either see this creep or the creep's going to see Dash. One or the other is going to end up in a fight. I think the SCV is going to lose. I see getting detection at no prompting. Always a good thing to have. Definitely not going to fault him for getting it, but I'm surprised that's become a priority instead of a sooner tech structure. Although he does have this spire, which I have not yet, I've only now spotted. Whoops! Production tab. See, I'm supposed to have a moderator in TeamSpeak with me to catch this sort of thing. Here come the Mutalisks flying out across the bottom of the map, while Dash makes a mech push in the center. No detection for Dash, so he's going to be spotted by this creep. The Mutalisks move to defend, but these mines are not burrowed. Thor is going to do some damage. However, the splash isn't quite what it could be. Ooh, that's a lot of Mutalisks. These Cyclones being completely useless, not getting microed, and the Cyclones actually running away from their defending Thor. Excellent hits from that Thor. If he'd stayed put, he could have done a lot more damage to those mutas. Dash GG's out pretty prematurely here. I think someone suggested that previously, and I disagreed at the time, but I do not disagree with that right now. By the time this Thor went down, these Mutalisks would have been severely weakened, and these mines, especially if they catch them clumped, say using the tanks as bait, could have cleared out that entire flock. Though granted, it looks like Dash's macro has not been especially on point, but his economy is pretty solid. As long as those mutas went away, he would have been in a pretty reasonable position. Bit of a shame this game didn't go on longer. Well, that's going to end this particular edition. And join us once again in a few minutes for game number 6 in the RU Gaming Placement Torment.
Do I look at Forces graph?
Forces graph, as requested. Dash is behind, but not all that behind. Once these mutas go away, how many mutas is this? 10. 10 mutas, that's 1,000 on that active Forces graph. And once that goes poof, thanks to this Thor and the Widow Mines, they're on a pretty even keel. Matter of fact, let's take a look at the worker count. Dash is even quite close to IC in the worker count. This game was actually far from over as long as this Mutaflock went up in smoke, as it should have.
Yui, can you tell us about the rankings right now?
Nope, I absolutely cannot.
Is the stream over?
The stream is still live, however, I don't actually know the status of the rankings at this juncture. But I will terminate this. Perhaps I will confer with you and the others in the interim, but this particular one must end, and we'll possibly check in on the current standings at the start of the next game. So join us in a few minutes, 12:30? Yeah, join us in a few minutes to continue this series for at least one more game.